Welcome to the Ed Bargy video series. In this episode, we will be looking at the techniques to gradually increase your entry speed for the corner. Increasing the entry speed is one of the more difficult or at least intimidating tasks for many new riders to try to master. As in life, to accomplish a certain goal, there are several objectives to attain to get to the final goal. And the same holds true for increasing entry speed. So, before a rider can work on increasing entry speed, there are several other objectives he needs to accomplish first. Objective number 1 is to master the proper techniques of aggressive front braking application, which is covered in part 1 of this video series. Objective number 2 is to develop late braking skills and to eliminate any coasting between the brake release point and the turning point of the corner. This is covered in part 2 of this video series. Once these two objectives are mastered, then and only then should the new rider try to achieve the goal of increasing entry speed. Let's set up the scenario for this video. We will assume that the subject rider has already accomplished aggressive braking and eliminated the coasting. Notice in the following diagram, the braking markers are shown, arbitrarily labeled X, Y, and Z. In this example, the rider is using the Y marker as his original braking marker, and the rider is releasing the brakes as he gets to the turning point. A concept about motorcycles I'd like to mention here is what I call cause and effect. Cause and effect is when you do something now, but the effect takes place a few seconds later. And the same holds true for entry speed. A question I often ask my students to get them thinking is, how do you get to your entry speed, or what gives you your entry speed? Think cause and effect. The answer is braking. Your entry speed is the speed that you have left over after you have done all of your braking. So to change your entry speed, you need to change your braking. Braking is the cause, entry speed is the effect. Changing your braking. There are two ways to change your braking. One is to reduce your braking pressure and not slow down as much, or reduce the distance that you are on the brakes. Well, the first one, reducing brake pressure, will work, but it leads to other side effects. In the long run, just reducing brake pressure to slow down less will evolve into a longer braking distance and also evolve into you starting your braking sooner and sooner, which has an overall effect of reducing the amount of time on throttle. The second option of reducing the time and distance on the brakes has better results. The object is to keep your level of braking the same and just brake for a shorter distance, and you'll scrub off less speed with a higher entry speed as a result. Well, how do you reduce braking distance? Well, once again, there's a couple of different ways to do this. The most common advice given to new riders by mentors is to just brake a little later than you are now. This will reduce the amount of speed scrubbed off by the time you get to the turning point. But there is one small problem with just braking later, and that is a word I use: commitment. Because once you move your braking marker, you will have a higher speed by the time you get to the turning point, want it or not. You are committed to a higher entry speed once you delay your braking a few feet. The problem with this is, how much higher is your speed going to be? That's an unknown. And if you brake a little too late, you could easily get in over your head with way more entry speed than you wanted. So just waiting a little bit later to brake is an option, but it might not be the best one. So how else can you do this? Well, the braking distance has two ends, the application point and the release point. The technique that I recommend is to change your release point, not your application point. Here's the process. At the end of the straight, start your braking at your original braking marker. Continue your braking, but just a few feet before the turning point, you release the brakes. Simple. This is better because instead of trying to estimate how much extra speed you will have by braking later, you can release the brakes at the speed that you want. Here's the beauty of the technique. If you get to the early release point and you are still not comfortable with the new entry speed, Well, then you just continue to carry your brakes to your original release point, and that'll take you down to your original entry speed. No commitment. So you will be making the decision at the speed you want instead of guessing and hoping it'll be correct when you get there. On to the next step. Once you've accomplished the first step, then you may want to once again reevaluate your entry speed. If at this point you feel that you can improve your entry speed even more, well then repeat the process. On the next lap, release the brakes just a few feet sooner again. And then once that is accomplished, again you can reevaluate your entry speed. You can repeat this process as often as you need until you achieve your desired entry speed. The object is to keep your level of braking the same and just brake for a shorter distance, and you'll scrub off less speed with a higher entry speed as a result. Now you can see, even though you have increased entry speed, you now have reintroduced a coasting distance. At this time you will just repeat the earlier procedure of eliminating the coasting distance like we learned in Part 2. So improving your overall braking takes into account several techniques and procedures, but you take one step at a time. To recap the process: first, develop efficient, aggressive braking techniques. Second, eliminate any coasting distance. Third, improve entry speed. Once again, eliminate any new coasting distance. The final result is no wasted time or distance, with the biggest improvement is an increase in throttle time. If we compare the sketch of where we first were when we started this process and a sketch of our final result, you can notice a big change in the overall braking efficiency using these techniques. If you follow these steps, you can easily and comfortably increase your braking, become more efficient, brake later and later, carry more throttle, and also increase your entry speed while still maintaining good control and not scaring yourself too badly each corner. But it is a process. Do one thing at a time and it'll all fall into place. This has been Ed Bargy. Thank you for listening. Hope you tune into my other videos.